We are
We
live,
are
Gina.
live.
Okay, I think I fixed it. I'm sorry. Woo! Alrighty then. I am so sorry about that one. Um, yeah, definitely just overslept. I apologize. I've been like sitting here since 2, 3 o'clock, and I was on the computer just looking at stuff and totally just yeah, passed out and went to sleep. So I do apologize. Usually I have an alarm set around activities that I have to do because I will take a nap in a second. But what helped was um, I did see a eye doctor who gave me adrenaline pills who helps with my exhaustion, my midday exhaustion. So just a second, let me get this light adjusted because now we're almost at sunset and I can't see. I know you can, but the light in here. Can you see me, Gina?
No, I don't. I see your picture, but you're not on camera. There, now you are. I'll be right there. I'm gonna move. Um, Hold on.
Oh man, I apologize, mate. So it is a Jack of Clubs week. Um, I'm not gonna say the Jack of Clubs is late. I was just late, but it does have two sixes in its life path, though. Um, Jax is also dealing with responsibility, just our responsibility to show up and be here, right? And also deals with relationships. Out of all the cards, this is um, a card, one of the cards that is is it challenged or supported by the Ten of Hearts? I believe it's supported by the Ten of Hearts. Um, So, with that relationship, since it's challenged by the Jack of Diamonds, I don't think I can really forget. Just because that Jack of Diamonds card towards it is pretty important. That can also be a reason as far as why their relationships are a tad bit different than other people as well. Um, so the Jack of Clubs week overall 610 through 616. Today is the 16th, and the last week of the Jack of Clubs week. Okay, it's also a card outside just relationships. It's innovation. Okay, it deals with the initiation to not new knowledge, information. You know, um, I'm trying to think when did this event happen. Okay, yeah, that was kind of like last week, but it was a weird initiation process that took place between me and the Ten of Clubs. I really want to take a look at his weekly, um, which we're out of school, so we don't see each other much. But so whenever you have a weekly card, whenever you getting initiated, so far as I seen, and I always say this that when I give you a card reading, it's almost like a 90% chance that I'm in your spread. If I'm not in your spread, I'm willing to bet that you have a Jack of spades in your spread. So the initiation is knowing over, about yourself, or just life in general. I'm willing here. Am I? Can you still see me?
I see you. You kind of were going out for just a second,
Okay.
but you're better now. I hear you.
Yeah. So just about like, and just about just life in general, and then Uranus placements also goes into um, higher science information, knowledge, esoteric information, sometimes astrology, so the Jack of Clubs is a curious mind as well. And anything you wanted to add to that?
It's like your friend, the jacks are like your buddy. This is a very playful, youthful, creative mind. I find this to be like a MacGyver. I call it the MacGyver card because it really can come up with some brilliant ways to fix some things. Um, so solve things, and it'll use whatever it can, you know what I mean, like it'll use all its resources, I think. And so I love this card, I love this energy. I might be a little biased because I am a jack, but it's funny to see people that I grew up with or spent a lot of time with or have always just clicked with are jack of clubs. So
Really?
mhm. I love the quick witted. I love the conversation. I love the talk. Let's talk. Let's go back and forth. It's fun. Like they're so playful with their words, and they tend to be very, just it's a social card too. You know what I mean? It's the gift of gab. So there is just a fun energy. I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very romantic and very like playful, and but they have their lower sides where they may not keep their word. Commitment is something that they may run from. um but they're, again, their conversation, remember, it's a card that wants you to like revolutionize your thinking, come from a higher place. It does think out of the box. It has that Uranian energy too. So another thing too though is its mind is a lot of times faster than most, right? And so it can get a little impatient with others, and people might not be able to keep up with their thought process, and then they can get really frustrated with other people. And but I've always loved this card. I like this energy a lot. And our, like, the jack of hearts and the jack of clubs spread, we both have a 9 in Mercury, both have 2s in Mars, both have kings in Jupiter, 2s in Pluto, 4s in Neptune, so we have very similar energy. So I think that's why I mesh well with this.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking about them being friends. As far as relationship, I've had mixed feelings. You all have gotten mixed reviews, but I think the consistent review that you're fun, of course, right? It is fun. It is a party as far as being social, talkative, kind of like what you were saying. It's very much so. They have the two twos in their spread. So let me show you their spread. They have a two in Pluto, and the other two would be in their Venus, which
2s in Mars.
Mars.
Hmm.
A lot of me, huh? I don't know why it's doing that. I mean, of course, I know why it's doing that because it's trying to properly show the screen.
Whoa, what happened? Oh, okay.
Mhm. Oh, because I was trying to share my screen so I can share the spread. And hopefully, I don't go out after I do this. I'm trying to exit. Okay, there. I'm fine. But yeah, a lot of people were speaking that they were great as friends as far as relationships as well. As far as love and relationships, as I was saying earlier, I think it is important for them to create relationships and friendships, and also have those type of relationships that you may not understand. May seem like you can't get a commitment out of that particular energy. May not want to be tied down. Anina refers to the Queen of Spades, which sits behind it as the unmarriageable queen. um,
And isn't there a transformation card? Yes, the Queen of Hearts.
mhm.
So I think they love being in relationships, but they tend to be a little flighty in them at times. Not all. I mean, I'm not saying that's all of them. Um, but they they have a two in Mars and a two in Pluto, just like me. So there's, the relationships are very passionate and important to them, and the working, like, just dealing with others, and there is, and it's funny because I remember one of my best friends, like, in high school. I mean, we got in so much trouble together. And she's a jack of clubs. And her intensity in relationships was very similar to mine. I didn't know this at the time, obviously, that she was a jack of clubs and I was a jack of hearts. But the the intensity that we both had when it came to relationships was very similar.
Mhm. And they're challenged by the Jack of Diamonds as well, and it does have a 10. The 10 is like the zero is one of those numbers that magnifies certain things and certain elements, right? So the personality, I think I won't say it's filled with drama, but the 10 of Hearts sits Jupiter Mars, right? So I think sitting Jupiter Mars, that's an expansion as far as the energy, playfulness, maybe particular dramatic situations, and also supported by a five of spades. So that's very entertaining as well. Very passionate card as well. The Ten of Hearts, I think, will take up. If we look at Michael Jackson, you would think that he can probably be a pushover, but I don't think so. Um, I think they can have their fair share of hiccups, bumps, and bruises. With that Ten of Hearts. Ten of Hearts also has the Eight of Spades and Venus as well. So there may be a lot of difficulties. I wouldn't say bullying, but having to be brave, stand up for themselves. Having to take action, taking the first foot, taking the first foot and stepping forward. Being a leader in some type of way, right? So I think the relationships and the with the Ten of Hearts supporting the Jack of Clubs, they can have very passionate relationships. They can probably stand up for themselves. Be very, I won't say selfish, but making sure that they're not being bullied in some type of way as well. So I think it can probably be defensive. Also has a two in Mars, so they can be defensive as well. So between the Ten of Hearts and the Two of Clubs, I can see someone like being defensive as well. But also within the
Argumentative, that two of clubs, that's where they get themselves in trouble, their mouth.
yeah.
They'll pop off. I mean, you don't want to get cussed out by that. You know what I mean? Because they'll tear you down. Those words are intense. That two of clubs is intense. When it's in, and it's intense in Mars. And so their and they, that's a thing though. Like, they're the one, like, they'll argue you down. They will try to get their point across, but they'll also be like your best secret keeper. They'll be your best friend too. You can tell them anything. Like, that was the thing too, and like, your secret would be safe with them because they take that relationship and that connection very seriously with that Mars energy. Like, they'll go to bat for you. If they love you, they'll go to bat for you, for real.
And we're talking about Mars and relationships. And we're saying that I think they are committable, but it just takes a lot of understanding. I think the respect for intelligence, because to be with a person that can be that passionate, that could probably snap back and probably cut you with their words, or just the element. Like this week, I had to sit back and I was speaking with someone, and sometimes they'd be like, "You're argumentative," but I'd be like, "No, I'm just trying to get my point across." I'm trying to make sure that you understand. If you was just to say okay and not even, it's a difference I think between understanding someone and just saying okay, and someone just totally debating and denying what you're saying. Even if you're not even saying it to be as a false, it can just be a perspective as well. But yeah, it can be a argumentative card. I did have to watch the way that I just speak. And I say it because I think the Jack of Clubs can probably be mistaken to be argumentative, but it may be understanding that they seek as well, especially with the Two of Clubs, and then you have the King of Clubs and Jupiter. You know, so they sometimes jacks also, or clubs actually, can, if they don't know information or knowledge, they can act like they know. So I'm not even saying that all jacks are just informative, but they can be passionate about the information and knowledge, whether they know or not, because that can be a club thing, is stepping into information and looking or wanting to be seen as a guru as well. So even so, there has to be a self reflection. So I did take responsibility, this week, as far as making sure that I'm not just arguing or just trying to get my point across, making sure that I'm understanding what someone's speaking about as well, and making sure I actually, I don't know everything. There's a point of you don't know everything. You don't know everything, so you can be seemingly argumentative, and the tools can make you look like that, or the tools can be very defensive, argumentative. The Two of Clubs, even Aquarius even says it's a pretty masculine card. And it has a King of Hearts that supports it too. So yeah, let me see. Someone also mentioned asking this week. I think about the Nine of Diamonds and Mercury for that card, or maybe we spoke about it about finances and investing as well. What do you see as far as like the Jack of Clubs financially and investing wise as
Well,
well?
I mean, I think with that nine of diamonds and Mercury, it can go in a few different ways. They can be irresponsible with their money, go to go you know overboard, but they also would be very generous. If you needed something and they got it, they're going to give it to you. You know what I mean? That's a very humanitarian card to have. And I think too, with the nine of diamonds, or with the jack of clubs, having that nine of diamonds in Mercury, they do, there is this sense of having to kind of slow down, because those nines can make you a little bit aggressive in that space, I think. But they also have a lot to share, a lot to give, and of their time, of their knowledge, of their resources. And yeah, I mean, they definitely could do well with investing and money in that space. But there's that, they can teeter from the sense of being responsible or not responsible, and kind of have to, when they start, as they grow up, I think they get more in that space of being responsible.
Yeah, the most definitely they have the Four of Diamonds and Neptune as well. You know, um, so I look at that as maybe having some money, putting some money away. Preserving. I'm not gonna sound like the Three Diamonds, but if it was in Neptune, it'd probably be more difficult to save money, or the issue around money would seem more of create more of a panic, or worry, having a nine of diamonds in Neptune. But having it in Mercury, I think, puts them in a position where you can be brave, quick to invest. I don't know about gambling. I did have the intuition. Kendrick Lamar said, told Drake, he has sick intuitions, got a gambling habit. But gambling could possibly be a thing as well. Especially challenged by Jack of Diamonds, Nine of Diamonds, Mercury, so money can be going out pretty fast. That could be gambling. And not saying
Yeah,
that
they're not
all
afraid to take a
gambling
risk.
is bad gambling. I think that the I don't know. Yeah, it's a risk. It is definitely a
And
risk.
they're not afraid to
There's a
take it.
difference between a habit and having. Right. Yeah, that's the thing though. Just don't be afraid to take a risk. I think
But
with the Jack
again,
of
because
Clubs,
they have that jack
because
of
you
diamonds,
challenged by the.
huh?
All right, go ahead.
They have that jack of diamonds in Saturn too. So they're challenged by it, and it's their Saturn card for life. So there's that, like, I'm gonna be responsible. I'm not gonna be responsible. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. But it also gives them the ability to create. They're very creative energies as well. So they can, when they're operating, remember, that's the Prince of Wealth. And, they're able to really attract. And that's another thing too, man. They definitely can attract. Like, I think that Ten of Hearts plays a big part of, them being surrounded by a lot of friends, a lot of family, or even coming from big families or having big families. You see that as well. um, and that Jack of Diamonds being in Saturn, there is that, again, there's a sense of Saturn, so there's this element of you have to be responsible, but they're not always. Because my friend girl, I mean, when I tell you things, oh my god, we're lucky to even probably be here at the time because of the stupid stuff we did together. So
I always say the Jack of Diamonds is an adventure. It sits Uranus, Neptune, even sitting Uranus in itself is traveling, foreign travel, having fun, enjoying, like you said, friends, taking a risk. When Jack of Diamonds is an adventure, I can imagine the type of things between the Jack of Diamonds and Ten of Hearts being a supportive and a challenge. Type of people that you probably run into, you know, or the type of events that you go to. Never have a Jack of Diamonds day or around that Jack of Diamonds period. I'm traveling to somewhere like foreign, somewhere unrecognizable, you know. Um, so yeah, I think they can make you somewhat of a traveler as well. Then it has the Five of Hearts sitting above it, which is detachment, having to travel, exploration as well. So I don't know if we speak about this enough or at all, really. I don't know what is enough, right? We can probably do this for a while because we kind of avoid some intricates of the system. And I can say I do speak a lot of jargon, but I try not to. But the card above it, which we call that your crown card, can you see that highlighted? Is that highlighted? Which would also your crown card in certain systems that would be come down to your Mercury card supporting the nine of diamonds and the five of hearts. So your Mercury would be the nine of diamonds and the five of hearts. So that is considered your vertical card as well. So that vertical card can go to your Mercury card. And also the nine of diamonds, it has the five of diamonds support as well. So that's traveling as well, having an adventure.
even more why
Um,
they're it's even more why they're spontaneous and a free spirit, and you're like, well, let's just see what happens. Because those that nine and that five, it's about being free, it's about not holding on, it's about not being attached. So and I'm going to keep going back to just my high school days with that my friend who was a Jack of Clubs. And I mean, when like the she was wild, like she was wild, and it was fun, but at times though it's like you kind of had to like rein her in, like, yo, we're gonna die. Like, we gotta stop, we can't do this
the two
um,
of
and so, but that nine of diamonds with the five of hearts as the vertical, there's definitely this sense of, again, taking a risk, traveling, and they probably would drop, oh crap, all the money, um and not think twice about it, just to be, just to have a good time. Like, that's a really good time right there, that nine and that five on the high side. You know what I mean? Will you go grab me down, please?
yeah, it's an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, with the Jack of Diamonds, no matter, like you said, just the people, the personalities, that even just being Uranus, Venus, that's what it is actually. Um, Weird and different people, crazy personalities. I think someone earlier said, just in that Jack of Clubs knows so many types of people and different statuses. All right. And you always say that Jacks the cards that can go from the poorhouse to the White House, right? So they
Waffle
can
House to the White House.
walk out to, walk out to the White House, you know. And so yeah, that's being very entertaining, being able to adapt and being able to change. They also say Jacks are one of those cards that are how do you say it? It's not.
What you gonna say, Rashad? What you gonna say?
I'm trying to think of like androgynous, I believe so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, is that a
Well, I was gonna say like the kinky, because there's Uranus and Venus, so they may dabble in relationships, like experiment here and experiment there, and they may swing from one side to the other. It is, especially with that five of hearts crowning it. Let's try this out, let's try that out, let's dabble into this, and kink, and odd, and unusual behaviors in the bedroom, we'll say.
Yeah, even older people possibly as well. So that could be an age difference possibly within in their relationships. But it's gonna be something, like I said, come like and Gina said, it's gonna be something different, about their relationship. Maybe something odd. So it's just getting out, going meet different types of people. Just what the energy encourages you to do, right? Like I said, Ten of Hearts is a party, you know. So you may have met someone at a party or something. Or in like I said, I was just asleep. And so other than just a party, it can be a hotel or traveling in some type of way. So yeah, let me see. I did ask some people some questions. Let me make sure or check here. And did you all have any questions as well? Oh, gracious in the
I tell you, whenever I'm listening and you two are talking, it's always about the bedroom. It's just crazy. It's like
back.
I'm like, oh, they're talking about it again. All right. It's like it must be the older thing. You're like, oh, we can't do it. But when I'm gone, I tell you. No, but what card were you talking about with this whole like kinky bed, all this stuff? What were you talking about?
Well, it's where it sits. Uranus, Venus, just its placements in itself. That in itself can be very, off the wall, if you will. And maybe they like that type of stuff. And then they they have the five of hearts crowning it. That, and it's a free lover. It's a free spirit. Like, let's try it
Totally.
all.
That's why they're so fun.
No, they're
That's why
that's
my
what
best friend wife is one. They're the
I
best.
love them. I
They're the
love them.
best.
We have very, we said earlier, like the Jack of Hearts and the Jack of Clubs have very similar placements throughout their spread. And I have growing up, there was a girl that, I mean, we were like this, and I was telling Rashad, we barely made it out. We barely made it out alive. We just, I mean, we were. It was extreme at times. We had so much fun, but
Right.
and to find out that she was a Jack of Clubs, like later on, I was like, oh my god, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. She was definitely pushing my, like dad would say, prude self along. She was definitely the wild one in the game. But I was always having fun instigating her because I always enjoy watching people do
Oh yeah,
whatever.
they're a trip. They're a whole show.
She is a whole show. She is
Mm-hmm.
a whole show. She for
Mm-hmm.
sure
Let
is.
her, my friend, when she would drink, oh my god, I was like, we can't fight everybody. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? Like, this
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
You gotta close that to a club's mouth, there, girl.
It's true. Like, I mean, being with people when they drink, it's like a ride. It's
Yeah,
like you're about to find out what they really think about all the time.
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
then you're going to see what happens if hopefully you think similar or you don't care that much because they're going to be really excited to tell you what they think.
Oh
And
my
it might
god,
be something that they don't always tell people, but right now they can tell you a lot, really loud, a lot of times. That's what my life as a bartender was like. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm hearing that. Yeah, you're really
hmm
strong about that. But yeah.
But bartender, I think, is a jack-like job. You know,
Yeah, my father owned
having
a
that
bar.
job.
Yeah, you kidding me? He loved it.
Mhm.
He loved owning a
Oh,
bar.
he's a jack of clubs.
Yeah, yeah. He loved that. It made his life. He said normal people bore him. He loved being in the bar.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of saying. The Ten of Hearts is like that party. You have to entertain, be in front of people. So that's definitely a scene or setting. You get to be in front of people. Be around a crowd of people. Also, like I said, entertainment. You know, well, actually, we didn't. We talked about it previously, but Jack of Clubs is actually part of hip hop. So writing that process. We was talking about speaking earlier. Within that is like poetry, spoken word. Elements. Between the three of clubs is like the writing, the writer. The artist. The seven of clubs is kind of like the spoken words person, the person who initiates change. A revolution, and the Jack of Clubs is the one to finish off and probably lead the group, and just take it up another element as far as the written ability. I think Taurus Big was a Jack of Clubs, if I'm not mistaken. Someone can correct me on that. But yeah, it's a card of hip hop, party, entertainment, music just in general, outside of hip hop. I think all music has stories that they can tell, right? So you expect the Jack of Clubs to have some stories to tell, right? I think those actually.
They
It
do.
is the art of storytelling. That's
They do.
exactly what this card is the art of storytelling. And because they can literally talk their way into out of any, I mean, you want to talk about quick, like quick with it. I mean,
Yeah,
and
if you have any old Jack of Clubs people in your life, can you please start to record their stories? Because
right.
like,
Well,
yeah,
and
they
they're
have some
very
good stuff.
convincing. They come with the passion. Like you're like, yeah, and they're probably BSing you.
We should have a contest of like people telling stories, but you don't know their card, and you got to guess their card by the way they tell the story.
Yeah.
Right? You can totally guess their card. That's what I do in my practice. I try not to find out their card for a little while, and then I make a few guesses, and then I go and check because I'm like, because I hear how they tell their story, and it's like, I sense that they got this going on, or they're over here in the six, they're going real slow about it, and it just makes me laugh every time. I'm like, it's like a little game, so that'd be fun.
No, yeah, for sure it is. Um, you can even sometimes look at people's days, just the type of day they can have. After they start. Well, I didn't tell this story. Did I tell y'all about my friend that I invited to last week? Actually, I did this week, right? It was actually during Jack of Clubs week. So actually, somebody did come and tell me a story. And also, the Ten of Hearts is the card of dreams really do come true as well. Um, so the Ten of Hearts is actually Michael Jackson cards. And if you ever listen to him or a story about Michael Jackson, one time he said he called Justin Bieber and he was talking to him on the phone and he was like, "Isn't this just amazing? Isn't this amazing?" or whatever. And I believe it was Justin Bieber, so it was someone. And he was like, What is it?" And he was like, just what we're able to do, like dreams really do come true, you know. So the Ten of Hearts is like dreams come true. And you can imagine, like the Jack of Clubs is the imagination, the creativity, to think about things, to think about the future, right? It is thinking towards the future as well. To be an innovator, you have to think towards the future. But it's like you're living out a dream, Every day is a dream. So a very creative, dynamic, having to be around people and very sociable cards. But yeah, so this week a guy was mentioning that he came to our group last week, right? And we're having a conversation around the Ten of Clubs, and he asked me like, "What is the Ten of Clubs? Like, what does it mean?" Right? And then I asked him his birthday, and he was like, "We were just talking about the Ten of Clubs and the Ten of Spades." And Ten of Spades, I didn't get to expound to him, but how it relates also is the hard worker. Someone's very passionate. They can work overtime for the things they want. Probably need some rest and some sleep as well because of work exhaustion for the Ten of Clubs. But so to find out that that person was a Ten of Clubs, so it's like they had a dream about a conversation about the Ten of Clubs, and they were the Ten of Clubs, So yeah, it is definitely the card of
That's
dreams come
pretty
true.
cool.
I know, right? So to talk about like the essence of the cards, I was like, once you get attached, once they start calling you, it's a wrap.
That's why we're all
This-
sitting here. We're all freaking like on the ride. We're like, okay, nothing else has made as much sense as this. Where's it taking us? Even what you just described, somebody coming and doing that. That's our job as far as like where the King of Diamonds lady sits. When stuff comes in, we're supposed to pay attention and use it to grow stuff.
mm, mhm.
That's what you
Yeah,
do.
the King of Diamonds is once you come across that card within like walking path, also or within your yearly, it can be someone that is going to give you a reading or give you guidance in some type of way. They're the King of Values, and you know, speaking about that card, me and him was just speaking about that particular archetype as well, because like you said, working with people or when you're around children or you're working in a school setting, you know, you tend to use these things a lot because as children, they're archetypes and they really speak to their card. So it's sometimes it's really easy to look at a child or on your birthday as well. Because I was definitely being a three of diamonds on my birthday, but it's really it's really easy to look at a card. So looking at the king of diamonds, the story, the Jack of Spades, was an issue within that card of the archetype for them as children. So yeah, and also the Jack of
Well, think
Clubs. So
about it.
which
That makes so much sense, right? Because the Jacks want to play, right? The
Mhm.
Jacks want to play. And here you are, a king who's supposed to be doing everything they're supposed to do. And then when you play, everyone's like, what are you doing playing this stuff to do? And that's because you're the one who'll do it. Like when you're one of these kids, because I've met a lot of king kids now, man, they're the ones who will go and do it. I'm not saying they're not the ones who throw fits and be brats too. I see that as well. But they are more of the ones who get that sense of responsibility and feel like they got to do it. So when it's time to play, I mean, I know for me, that's why there became an alter personality of like Wicked Wanda when I was bartending, because I got so tired of focusing and doing what I was supposed to do. I wanted to play. So it's like, how do you play but keep your focus? I think that's the trick.
How do
You
you
know,
play with your focus? No, yeah, that was the exact conversation that we had, really. Around when it's time to do work and when it's time to play. There's I expect you to be doing certain things,
right,
and I have to be able to trust you. You know,
right,
and you're seemingly very very slick with your tongue. Probably the best talker around
right,
that's at this particular location.
right.
So, but how do we use that to get what we want in the right ways, right?
Exactly. Well, somebody asked us a question about the difference between a male and female jack of clubs, I believe,
Mhm.
right? Is that what someone said?
Yeah, Jacks
Difference
tend.
between the jack of clubs, male and female, are there any?
Are there any? Right, that's a good question. Those Jacks tend to be more masculine sometimes. I say. Uh, Maybe the Jack of Clubs could possibly be more masculine. Even I was looking at whether Jacks have kings. Uh, Jack of Hearts has one in Jupiter. This one has one in Jupiter. Um, which one? Jack of Hearts, Jack of Diamonds. They have the Eight of Hearts, but maybe somewhat being privileged, and there could be a masculine a nature. Like I said, the Jack of Clubs is an androgynous card. That can also be eccentric as well, maybe coming into something different, or having a different type of style, So not being able to really pin them down or define them in such a way, possibly. And like I said, that even within their relationships, they can be something a bit different about them altogether. But Jacks seem to be, or somewhat, a lot of the books say, more masculine, and there can be a sense of androgynous, so being able to kind of go back and forth. So that can be so the women. That's it for the women, and the men. As far as I'm not exactly sure the difference or what you want to know exactly about them, but they have the king of clubs in their particular position. So I think leadership, being very flirtatious, could be one of those things as well. Slick with words with the ten of hearts, that like I said, they may want to have a lot of responsibility to take upon, and a lot of times that's where the Jacks 11s fail at is living up to that responsibility that they have to kind of live by. When they do make it, it is a celebration. But if not, it can be probably, I don't know, the right energy you want to be around. Um, 11s can go off on the deep end. I think that can be a sense of exaggeration or even temperament, possibly, that comes with this card as well.
Over, yeah, over the top, a little dramatic, very competitive, very, very competitive. Like, I'm telling you, the competitiveness. And even for me growing up, I mean, I was probably considered what, a tomboy, I guess, because I played sports. But I danced too. Like, I did ballet, jazz, tap, modern, but I also would be outside climbing trees and playing in dirt and dissecting frogs in the middle of the street. Like, I could go from back and forth. But as I got more like as I got older, I was definitely more a tomboyish energy, I would say, for just me personally. But I'm very, very competitive, and the Jack of Clubs that I know, very, very competitive as well. So, they have that drive, and like, that a lot of passion behind it. Don't want to lose, that's for sure.
And the king of clubs, I think with men, even with Kendrick Lamar was kind of speaking about that. He's the king of clubs, but with kings or king clubs, those kings' energy is a natural competitiveness. Yeah, I was even speaking earlier this week. Not I'm talking about speaking. I was on Instagram. I'm gonna stop commenting on under everyone's posts because I'll be trying to spread the word of cardology, but I find myself into the conversation. But also within the kings, but I was commenting within the field of cardology, but because in the cards, women can be kings as well, right? So it can be a sense of um, I was speaking in terms of gender, so they can be masculine in certain aspects, So I think within the field and aspects of metaphysical sciences, the word gender is more applicable than sexuality, which is I think is biological, right? Based upon your sexual body parts, maybe how one would expect you to act. You have a lady part, so you should act like a lady. But within the world of metaphysics, we see that there are concepts between masculine and feminine, right? So men and women can both have masculine and feminine traits, right? So having a king in Jupiter would put you that's very masculine, maybe some fire behind it, maybe even depending on what's in Sag for you as well, right? Or within certain locations or where your Jupiter is, considering this particular person. But kings, I think, are naturally competitive. I think men are naturally competitive. We find it as fun. We find it as like sports. That's why we have ruled the business world. Even the aspects of business, it comes within a lot of kings. You see them having it. I was even speaking towards this king. They're going to have to own their own business. Not saying they can't work with no one, but there's a sense of being knowledgeable, and some people can see that as being competitive. But it's just standing your ground and standing on who you are. So I'm not saying that's always being competitive, but a sense of leadership is seen within sports. So whenever someone's a natural leader, sometimes it's seen as competitive, or someone being competitive, right? But I think the King of Clubs is a very competitive. It's around like gaming, sports. Even the Jack of Clubs is playful as well. So there's competition around your jacks. So that King of Clubs aids to that Jack of Clubs as far as maybe being competitive. Now it's also the Eight of Spades is. I was talking about that pertaining to that Ten of Hearts, right? The Eight of Spades is. It's kind of like a very physical card. You can see fights, bullying come from that particular card, So that's so it can be a sense of someone being can pop off in the mouth and maybe get in a fight.
Listen, my Jack of Friends club that I've been talking about, she'd little tiny thing, man, she will mess you up. She whoop your ass in a heartbeat with not just her words, but she would fight. That was another thing I'd have to keep her from doing. Like, yo, we cannot fight everybody. Like, calm down. It's not that serious. And we were, too, it's very pretty. And so that would be even worse too, because man, she does not care. It was a lot, but it was so much fun. But very competitive. Don't want to lose, and physical. Like she was very physical.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Very strong. She played sports too. We were very physically active kids at that time too. So I mean, very, very physical. And even as we've grown up, like it's funny because her daughter wrestles and my daughter plays basketball, and her daughter's killing it wrestling right now. And I'm like, you see, you should have done that because she had that type of just fight in her. And it was just, so it's really been cool to watch her daughter now, who's I think like a year or two younger than my oldest, now be, and she looks just like her. And I'm like, God, that's you out there like slamming kids down. It's awesome.
That's dope. So
You're
she's a
muted.
Jack.
You're muted, Madeline.
Hey, Rashad. Oh, Gina, my mom and dad are that, and my best wife girl, and there's so many. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And you definitely have to, like, I had to make contracts sometimes before I went out with any of them, especially if drink was involved. I'm like, okay, here's the rules. Like, we're keeping lines on this. Like, I'm not taking your crazy ride. So I totally hear you. Someone else also asked Rashad, they're curious about the Jack of Clubs, 7 Spades position. So I guess that's a question we could answer. And I really want to reflect on the masculine, feminine thing, but I want to finish the questions.
The 7 of spades is faith, spirituality. So for the Jack of Clubs, that's in their Venus. That's also relationships, the work. So I think they can have create very good working relationships. There's a sense of family. I think that's tied into the space or ancestry. I think some of the books say that they may have an awkward situation with their grandparents because of the Four of Hearts. But I think as far as their home, in the sense they'll do anything for their home or their relationships within their family, it's a very spiritual, applicable card as well, but also financially determined because the 7 of Spades is also challenged by the King of Diamonds, So there's this spiritual alignment I think they want to have to take care of their family and the people that surround them, but very hardworking as well, So goal oriented, or it can be very goal oriented. There could be a burden as far as illness, or being sick in some type of way, or needing some type of, or maybe stomach issues, or herbs or herbal work. So being knowledgeable, maybe around herbs, as far as business wise, that could be some investing as far as maybe within pharmaceuticals. I'm not going to say drugs, but because sometimes it seems to take drugs
No,
as the
it's
bad.
drugs. No, it's drugs.
Yeah. So,
But they'll go to
let's.
the extreme. You know what I mean? Like that 7, it's faith or fear. So they, them having that 9 and that 7 right off the rip. That's why they can be intense, and that's why they will go ham for their relationships. Right? They can go over the top. Or it can tip. And they do have to be mindful. Not operating out of fear or attachments, expectations of others, because that's where that disappointment could come in. Seeing themselves as the source is a big part of that 7 of Spades in Venus, but again, they have to, their health too. There can't, like you were saying, some illnesses, stomach issues, because you have a 7 in Venus too. So you understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
I am the Dr. Sebi's understanding.
yeah, so there,
sure.
And that was one thing I think I remember about her too, is like she dealt with her stomach, and I think it's stress. You know what I mean? I think they digest if they're stressed out, or if they're operating from that lack or that fear, that it gets internalized, right? And now their stomach is stressed out, so that they have to be mindful of that.
Yeah, for me, my relationships or love, I try not to think about it. It used to be a lot of stress in those particular areas. It's growing up. That's what I've seen that for myself. I was very worried about other people. I may not express myself a lot. I may have kept some things to me. That could make them do the thing that make them come out. If a Jack of Clubs is more reserved, the 7 of Spades could make them somewhat reserved or isolated in some type of way, or eternalizing a lot of things. Or it can be anxiety, social anxiety. Because it's not to say that you want to be isolated, but sometimes that I think sevens can create relationships and friendships. So there's a sense of responsibility or attention that you could get there as well. But yeah, so relationships. Let me see if there's anything. The seven of spades has the support of the eight of hearts there as well. So that yeah, that I think relationships and could be very important. Like you said, it can cause some type of fear because eight of hearts is Neptune, Jupiter as well. So having to kind of get out of the shell or get out the box. Was there any other questions that anyone else had, or anything you want to say about how you ever experienced or looking at the Jack of Clubs, man?
Do you see the one that says, is the higher side of the Jack of Clubs to obtain more of a spiritual life, moving away from the physical abilities into the spiritual realm due to the Queen of Hearts and Seven of Spades?
Yeah, I think I touched on that when you were saying that. I was thinking about the seven of spades, but yeah, it is a very spiritual card. I don't know if I said that earlier, but yeah, as far as spirituality, even with the King of Clubs as well, being around or finding yourself as leaders as far as information or knowledge of those things spiritual is concerned. You gotta look at the King of Clubs. It's challenged and supported by two spades, right? So just as much as the like King of Clubs is very spiritual. But yeah, the seven of spades, I mentioned that I think last week or one time I was like, it was a bone that was in the Buddhist position on fire. And Madeline, you always saying that was a little bit extreme. But it's like someone that is totally in peace no matter their environment. I think, the world can be on fire and you're and sitting there with your legs crossed, with understanding. That's also within that template. I was saying that there's going to be like people around them. Possibly there can be people around them if they don't want their attention. Because that sevens their spiritual work is with people. Helping healing people. So it can be contact because you're a bridge for people, right? So they can be initiating people, or I can find sevens as initiates for other people, introducing them, more hands-on in certain type of sense. The seven of hearts may not want to be as hands-on, but I can see that. I say as a drunken sailor, the bartender sometimes. So even them too, they can have moments of secrecy where they want to hide themselves, but like I said, that's why I said I can't really run because there's going to be this attachment to people in some type of way, some type of bridge, or you enlighten people spiritually because it's the seven of spades. So yeah, that's the spiritual path of the seven of spades and is enlightenment. Enlightening maybe even about the path, maybe using their psychic abilities well as a seven of spades to help people. There can be some intuition that can be played off from the seven of spades. But finding themselves around religious groups or people that have more information and knowledge than them, it's the king of clubs and Jupiter that helps them. I think with 11s or neophytes or anyone that is an initiate or a beginner or student, you have to be a student first, so I don't say they have to humble themselves, but some may come off as snobbish or know it all, but I think all experts have to find a teacher that they can sit under and listen, and not be so jacky and want to play all the time, right? So yeah, they can be great spiritualists, but they want to play.
I want to reflect on this masculine feminine thing. I mean, again, it always fascinates me that I can still learn and still see things that I didn't really get before. But this whole, my parents being the jack. So, of course, I'm a dude like girl. Like, how could I be but anything but a dude like girl with these two parents, right? So, that's a permission slip and a release. But also, this masculine feminine thing, of course, I was taught cross your legs, sit like this, wear your hair long, comb this, do that, whatever, and it didn't always make sense to me because it wasn't what I wanted to do, right? Because as a king, I really like to do what I want, right? I don't really like to do things I don't want to do. So, but recently, when you were just talking about the male and female, and the stuff I listen to, and as far as the current of change and the collective rite of passage we're in, we've kind of come through the divine feminine, and now all of us, the masculine and all of us who aren't masculine but still have very masculine energy or working through. We're all working through our masculine woundings, right? In the same way, you can't get mad at what happened to the girls. We can't get mad at the boys. Like, we definitely, I know as a mom, the references I would make at times would internalize this sense of like, oh my gosh, I'm one of those idiots, or I did that thing. But there's also a way that we just grow different, but we're all those things. So I know I'm going in circles, but we're all boy and girl. So I find as I build some business thing out and get stronger in my back, I feel my masculine learning to soften and work with others. I feel a difference in the way I'm moving because I have more compassion for myself and I'm not pushing myself like my dad's way of pushing my brother, or even me if I were a boy or where he was talking to me like that. I was like, ah, come on, get up. What the hell's the matter with you? Your stomach. I was like, it wasn't anything like, oh, are you worried? Are you scared? You know, do you need a few minutes? Here's some water. It was like, smack the horse and get back up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that's good or bad, but I know in my masculine energy, sometimes that's the part I got to curb and be like, let's be a little kinder. Let's be sweeter. Let's go slower. We're there. We're okay now. Let's put it all together. You know, because sometimes that energy in my character, and especially my mom, she's a bossy lady. So, you know, we definitely learned all to be bossy.
Mhm. Now, I think that's where balance comes in. In any book within the spiritual spread, within the cards, the key is balance. Like you said, we both have those parts of us. I got
Mm-hmm.
a tarot read one time, and she was saying that right now I'm learning to balance my masculine and my feminine energy. I don't know. It's not thinking. Trying to go back. There you go. Yeah, she was saying I need to balance my masculine and my feminine energy. So yeah, I do agree. Even within disciplining children, um, there was just a conversation that I had this morning. Yeah, this morning actually about that and differences as far as opinions and how to discipline children. Which now I'm just like I don't have kids, so it's whatever. But sometimes people ask your opinion or what you think should be done, and they were saying that I was a little harsh for saying that a kid should. I said beat his tail, but that's just improper raised because I was born in a very strict household where we got our tail beat. But that's just what happened, right? I didn't have my biological dad, but I had my stepdad, right? So he was there bringing the discipline, and my mother is a jack. So actually, she wasn't as soft herself, right? To be honest, but Jack of Diamonds do soften up supposedly towards the end, but step across their family, and then you will see another side, right? So they do soften up, but they are very protective and still keep that off with their head type of energy
Mm-hmm.
in their older age and very close to their family. But
Well, you know, we're learning a lesson about that. We're learning something here at the house. But in regards to the male and female, as far as the male and female card, my parents were both Jack of Clubs. And the differences I can tell you is that my mom played her card a lot louder and my dad played it in a different way. You know, he let it come to him different. You know, I mean, he wasn't out there pushing it the same way. He ran himself a little differently like that. I'm not saying he wasn't his own dom, and it was also the age and stage. They grew at a time that a Jack of Clubs male had a different access board than a Jack of Clubs female. Right now, if a Jack of Clubs male and female were born, they'd have a different experience than my parents did. So I would say it like that. As far as what you're saying, Rashad, about the balance and that comes when we allow it to come to us and stuff, and the way that parents can be hard on kids, it's becoming more and more evident to me in living in this classroom with my grandson how sensitive the young people are to the energies around them, and they would like to be able to have their feelings without us getting bigger feelings. And I think it's really hard. I think what we do is when kids start to show annoying things or release things in ways that are inappropriate, if they're under 2, it's cute and you make a video. When it gets to 3, it drives you crazy. When it's 4, you're like, somebody watch them. And when it's 5, you're like, I'm so glad they're going to school. Because it's really hard to help co-regulate with a child because they're living in a completely different energy. They're touching everything. Everything's touching them. They're meeting the world in a completely different way than we can imagine because we don't remember. And so I'm learning from my grandson that he doesn't want us to get mad when he gets mad. But he gets so mad and his feelings get so big. But for some reason, this little nine of diamonds angel, that's part of what he's here to transmute. So we have to come up with ways to be present for his transmuting, if you will, but keep a safe container so he doesn't bug out as much and he can communicate. But if we just get mad at it and shut it down, I'll say in my generation, we did that, but we grew a good amount of addiction by doing that. You know, like food became a big thing, shopping became a big thing, gambling became a big thing, because all of a sudden your emotions were kind of like, couldn't be authentic to them, right? You had to keep doing whatever you were told, or you had to take that hit and suck it up, or whatever it was. So I think our youth is really trying to ask us to be present to co-regulating with them and helping them move through things. And when we get mad or try to dominate or squash them while they're having the feelings, this little one, he's coming back like he's got like an army of like 5,000 angels with him ready to like eat people alive because you're not listening to him. Like it's insane. I'm like, wow, wow. And like he comes from a long line of passion. His mom's a three of diamonds and his father's an eight of clubs, who is a very deep, soulful man. So like I'm not sure what the classroom is, but I'm learning from him that he doesn't want to see me get mad or get sad when his feelings are having his feelings. And it's really hard for me. I'm learning a classroom. I'm being changed. It's like I'm good at staying steady. Houses can be on fire. Like I'm pretty good like that. And even in this, I'm staying steady. But I'm kind of sad about how much feelings he's running through himself and how he doesn't know how to regulate or connect to himself. But I'm hearing that there's a lot of young kids who are going through things like this. You know, because we
No,
are changing so much.
no,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
for sure. I think even within the Jack of Clubs, let's keep it within the context. That's also relating, understanding how you feel, communicating how you feel, communicating your emotions. You know, is very important because it's sitting Venus Uranus, so there's a sense of detachment. You know, that can also be maybe reasons why they don't settle down as well. So I think being understood, being heard, you know, is one of the things with the clubs. Just in general, everyone wants to be understood. Everyone wants to be heard as well. But most definitely, clubs that can be miscommunication or communication issues or problems, you know, that can come about. But yeah, I think within the balance between the queen and king, you know, is going and understanding how to regulate your emotions, you know, how to properly communicate who you are, you know. And I can't say I didn't apologize to them because it was just a conversation. I'm not a parent, but I will say that using your male side and the man is here to discipline, right? So what is it, or why is this thing, or how did this happen? You know, there's something that we're fixing or figuring out, and using how to take the pain and use it in an effective way. I think the queen in itself, or the definition of queen, is nurturing. You know, I wouldn't say just pampering, but making someone feel better. Not, you know, want to baby someone, but making sure that they're all right emotionally. So when I was saying, like, when there's balance, you know, you have these two things within the home, or within helping to maintain the situation. We all understand that you don't have all of those things at all times. So that's what raising a child or an adult is, you know, because you're not going to be in their life all the time, you know. So you have to teach them and educate them along the path, and it takes consistency, right? Even within the jack of clubs, or within rap, hip hop, you have to see things, you go through things or say things more than once to understand and to learn, you know. So Jack is information, knowledge, learning something, and you know, so there's a enforcement of this information, enforcement of these nurturing aspects, an enforcement of how do I turn this pain into passionate, or to into something productive, or you know, and making sure that, or understanding how I prevent it as well, prevention. You know, how do I prevent these things from happening, and take an understanding of the world around me as well, of why these things may happen. So looking at it from a more mature route, you know, even like the King of Hearts, if they was to go around being heartbroken all the time, you can find someone that can use their passion in a very um, damaging way, right? You know, because there's always going to be pain, you know, but um, at some point in time, you got to mature and learn how to use that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think about how everything's different. It seems like that's the alchemy, right? Because you had the parents you had and they set the imprint they did. I had the parents I had. I know lots of King of Diamonds boys and girls that are a little different from me. I think the cards are giving us our tendencies and things to not get mad at ourselves about, because there's certain things that are just part of our classroom, like things that we're just going to have to meet. So yeah, so I'm not sure if I went too big in my expansion of the male and female and the way the kids are coming in, but I think about it a lot working with adolescents. I see how intense their emotions are, and I'm like, wow, they're really like live wires looking to kind of be connected to something that feels good.
Well, I think
Yeah,
it's I think it's also it's okay. Like, remember, they're humans with feelings, and we, growing up, you know kind of out of, do as I say, not as I do, or, we you didn't have a voice a lot of times. So these kids have a voice, they want to use their voice. And when we allow them to feel and experience, I think that helps them to, because they have big feels too, especially as they grow from that like 7 to like 10, 11, 12, oh shit, all the way to teenagers. But those big emotions and big feelings, and you know allowing them to express them. And that nine of diamonds, that your grandson has, that the jack of clubs is behind him. It's pushing him, it's supporting him, and then he goes right into a seven. So it is trying to help him express himself, and allowing him to feel and not shunning those feelings. You know what I mean? Because I think that's what we a lot of times dealt with is, don't cry, don't, just go to your room. Like, that was it. You got yelled at, you got your ass whooped, you went to your room, and you had to sit there with your big ass emotions and not do what to do with them. And now these kids, because they're just so much more exposed to different things, they need an outlet and need that expression and need someone to just be like, okay, you know this is what anger feels like, this is what sadness, this is what joy feels like, this is what happiness feels like, and how to work through those big emotions. Like, I really help, like, just breathe. Like, I really try to implement just breathing through things and really trying to come back down to the moment. And even just for myself as a grown up, like, doing that is, I need to do that at times, right? So, and I think with the jack of clubs, they're, because again, they have those 9 and that 7 right off the rip in their spread. So their child, learning how to express themselves, right? Because they are the card of conversation, and the mind and the thoughts. And they were raised in a non-healthy environment, they can be more a negative, they have this maybe negative imprint, or uh, ideas that they have to work through and let go. Because again, that 9 and 7 at the beginning is pretty big, when we're looking at that, especially their first year, their formative years.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's formative years, but yes, especially when you are here to obviously let go and grow. Like, right at the gate, you have to come up with something to believe in to help you feel like you're part of something, because otherwise you could really get lost thinking that you get to control everything. Yeah, for true. All right, so Ryan, do you see one more question there, Rashad? I saw you're not there. Um, Yeah, and I'm excited for the kids. I think they're great. Like, I'm just learning, like Gina said. I grew in, obviously I've gotten fine with being able to chat about my emotions. But there's definitely ways that I'm not as sensitive as I'd like to be, because I wasn't allowed to be sensitive for me. So I've been learning over time. And I imagine some of us older people will become more sensitive, but also still bring clarity, sensibility, right? Because sometimes you can make things bigger than they are, and that's just life. Like Jesus, we can all make stuff up. Y'all know that. So
yeah, that's definitely.
what, Rashad?
I was like that. Yeah, I think with now going into the Aquarius age, right? We start to change the way we look at things, relationships. I think, like the Jack of Clubs, it pushes the mold. You know, it brings things. It upgrades things or brings things into a different format. You know, so I think what you're saying is there needs to be a change in more of awareness of about the emotions of the children because they are different. Um, I'm working with kids between elementary to high school. These kids are way more different. They if the sense of the Aquarius age is being androgynous or being more eccentric, self. I hate to say self-centered. I'm trying to like change different terms,
No,
but
I think
being
they're
more.
exuding more self-acceptance. They're not being held in the same programming, right? They're coming in more free, so they're allowing themselves to create more, right? They're not coming into the same format. That's why people are trying to make formats like your Project 2025 or whatever. Like, what are we going to tell people?
Mhm.
Like, there's more of an organic expression coming out of kids.
Yeah, they're definitely self-aware and not afraid to express themselves. And so there is something different. We do have to look at things a little different. That's what the Aquarius age, I think, is signifying, or what is that term and that definition is saying as well, right? Even within the Queen of Spades, within the line of the Aquarius, if you don't know, I don't know if I should, so, but you can look at these as conjunctions as well, right? In a lot of different ways, or the on-site or the flow of the Aquarius, kind of like the Nosostris in a certain type of way, right? And how or what that particular placement or being in that world or in Uranus, what is that defined as? So I say Aquarius because that is the ruler of the Uranus location. So big going into Aquarius age, or look at Uranus, right? What's taking place, is us changing, being more informed in how to take care, how to parent, use our personal emotions, the empowerment of women, possibly, right? Also, the way that we cater and help and heal other people as well. So the Queen of Space is the healer, right? So even the Jack of Clubs in itself is innovation around health. I was saying earlier, I was going to say, I don't know if I said hospitals, but the Ten of Hearts is like hospital, but it's also around comfort or even giving someone a hug and that helping them. So it's any type of health or healing someone in those particular aspects. So not always going to the hospital, but maybe getting hurt or something being healed or seeing the doctor in some type of way. But what I was saying is, right off the bat, two important parts between the Jack of Clubs and the Queen of Spades is health, healing, and helping people and changing those particular dynamics and understanding, and emotional understanding of what's taking place and how to cater to those people that you're in service to. So how we in service to the children of the future is important in a different aspect because they're going through particular changes and they're pushing the boundaries and the molds of emotional understanding as well in the way that they express themselves. I'm amazed every day a lot of times in the way that children express themselves. I have to think back, like, was I that expressive? Was that because there seem to be no boundaries sometimes? And as we become more comfortable with it, as far as like on personal lives, I don't have children, so I don't know what it's like to raise a child in my home. So only after about 5 or 7, I may see them in the line of work of what I do. So yes, so that but those set by between 5, 7 and up, it is pretty different. Especially middle school children are expressing themselves a lot more different. And as people, parents, we have to step into their world now. You understand? And the Jack of Clubs is education. It's pushing the mold, it's thinking forward, is looking at things a little different as well as far as understanding, being creative around the way that you educate as well. But overall, as far as children, parenting, and the basis also what I was saying, the king and the queen is essential. Because the mother and the father are always going to parent different. So I think when people push the father out of the picture, it only hurts the child. It only hurts their emotional understanding and the understanding of their world as well. So, was there anything else? I know we like at hour 14, so I don't want to keep us for too long.
I actually have to get off because I got to get her to bed. I'm in her room, so I need her to get to bed. So I have to jump off. Um, but
Okay.
I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy. What are we going into? Oh, the Queen of Clubs week. Oh boy.
Everybody get more intuitive about how we're going to change, how we're going to meet it different. Woohoo! I'm happy to change. It's a good time to change for me.
Everybody's change is within the pattern of their cards, So then the
Yeah, and
change outside.
don't get mad at it. Just take the ride in grace, Don't turn it into drama. Don't pick fights. Just learn what you can learn and be nice.
I'm the Pluto, so I'm like, oh.
You say you're the Pluto?
Thank God you're dark side.
The Pluto card to the Queen of Hearts, so or the Queen of Clubs, so that I try to keep a low profile.
Oh, do you get more psychic and stuff? Do you feel more sensitive that way because of it?
I think I'm more intense, which is not probably the best thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can appreciate it. All right, I'll take heed. Thank you.
You're seen as intense for them. You incite this Pluto as well. And you just had a Pluto class, and there's a webinar.
Yeah, so she's got Pluto magic going on.
Yeah, I do. Me and Pluto were.
Is that going to be a series? Was there going to be a second part to that? Was there anything that you feel like you didn't go over that you want to go back and speak?
Oh, I mean, I could have. It was 4.5 hours long. I mean, I could have been there even longer. I mean, I had a good amount of people. It wasn't, but what I was doing is I was actually, because of the amount of people that were in the webinar, we went through every single person's Pluto card and reward card. So that's why it was long. And I had to I couldn't go in as much as I like to go in, or it would have been 8 hours. So I had to really rein it in, but it was really good. It's recorded if anybody wants the recording. And then in 2 weeks, I'm doing Saturn. You're doing the same thing with your Saturn card. And then I'll have 2 more webinars.
That's a great resource. That's awesome, honey. That's such a great resource. Mm-hmm. That's really smart. We're putting together more and more resources. And Rashad, when everything's over, I'd love to connect to you for a brief few minutes. But we're putting together a bunch of resources for another card table, the family card table, to look at parenting and growing and changing and the dynamics of what's happening in families. So everything that Gina is doing is helping people learn themselves. It occurs to me, Gene, if you're going to do Pluto's things, because it goes so deep, then maybe it's like a 3-part series where it's like learn your Pluto game, like almost like Take the Train. You know what I mean? Yeah. To digest it even. It takes a minute with that stuff. But I know you got to go to bed. All right. Thanks, everyone. Always fun.
Definitely. Peace, everybody. See you next week. Enjoy the week.
All right, and we'll try to answer questions about the Saturn and Pluto positions next week. As well. So we'll go over some of those, but we'll speak with you all. Thank you for the questions, Maria. Thanks, JLo, for showing up as always and responding.
Thank you, hello, Maria.
Energy. And that was an honorary Jack of Clubs. I want to just throw out that random, but maybe when they can get up and give us some more insight. But speak with you all next week. Going into a Queen of Clubs. Having questions, just DM us.
Peace.